Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira, on Rajya Sabha Television. Over the next half an hour, we'll bring you a roundup of all the significant events to have happened around the world this week. But first, a look at the headlines. French presidential debate turns acrimonious. Centrist candidate Emmanuel Macron calls his far-right rival unworthy of the post. Marine Le Pen accuses him of being soft on Islamic State terror. US House passes healthcare bill in major victory for Trump. US President takes victory lap at the White House following key healthcare vote. Republicans' effort now faces the Senate test. After days of shadowboxing in the Korean peninsula, Donald Trump says he would be honored to meet Kim Jong-un. White House clarifies meeting will only take place under the right circumstances. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan review bilateral ties. Both sides signed 3 agreements in the fields of foreign affairs, cultural exchange and telecom. Well, let's begin the program with news from France, where presidential candidates Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron traded accusations and insults as they clashed over their vision of France's future, the euro and the ways of fighting terrorism. The ill-tempered television debate was nothing short of drama, and the sharpest exchange was over national security. A snap poll conducted after the debate said 63% found Macron more convincing than Le Pen. Here's more details.
Millions of viewers tuned in on Thursday to watch the head-to-head debate between centrist candidate Emmanuel Macron and the far-right Marine Le Pen. While Macron claimed his opponent was unworthy of holding the French presidency, Le Pen accused her rival of groveling in front of big banks and the EU. For Le Pen, the 2.5-hour debate was a last major chance to persuade voters who placed her as second favourite after round 1 on April 29. And she tried her best to paint Macron as a darling of the system.
I'm the candidate of purchasing power. You, Mr. Macron, are the candidate of the power to purchase France, to dismember it. Because yes, it's important to know what the philosophy is behind your program. In your society, everything is for sale and anything can be bought.
Tout est à vendre et tout est à acheter.
Le Pen went on to accuse Macron of being complacent on Islamic extremism as she sought to portray herself as strong on security, one of the issues which has dominated the campaign.
Security and terrorism is a vital issue, which is totally absent from your manifesto. Totally absent. There are no proposals that stand up to scrutiny. That means the physical scrutiny of our fellow citizens and the fight against Islamist fundamentalism, you don't want to wage it.
For more than 2 hours, the anchors of the debate struggled to get the word in as the two finalists took each other on more frontally and aggressively than at any point in the campaign so far. Macron called Le Pen a liar and accused her of sowing hatred. He also claimed that her policies would lead to civil war.
What's extraordinary is that your strategy, it's predictable. It has been going on for decades, is to tell lots of lies and say what isn't working in the country, but you don't offer anything. Who has been manipulating the fear since the beginning? It's you. Who's playing with the fear of our fellow citizens regarding terrorism? It's you.
As Le Pen spoke, French journalists fact-checked her every word, calling her out on several of her pledges and accusations. But it was hardly necessary as Macron took apart her program and defended what had appeared to be the harder case to make, that the answer to France's problems was more Europe rather than less.
So you propose to leave the euro. I'm saying that's a fatal project and that it's a dangerous project and that the tinkering you did this with former candidate doesn't make any sense. And incidentally, it reveals a crass lack of preparation.
The two went into the debate with opinion polls showing Macron with a strong lead of 20 percentage points. Unfortunately for Le Pen, the picture doesn't look too different even after the debate, as a survey done by BFM TV said 63% found Macron more convincing than Le Pen. By Sunday night in France, voters will deliver the real verdict on the two completely different visions. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Joining me for a chat this week to talk about this is Sanjay Kapoor, editor of The Hard News. Welcome, Sanjay. Thank you for joining me on the program. You know, the countdown for the French polls have well and truly begun, and within a matter of just, 36 hours, we'll know what exactly happens as the French presidential race reaches its last leg. But Macron clearly is the front runner. Is this his election to lose now?
Yeah, I mean, I must tell you that the pollsters in France haven't got it wrong. Even in the first round and second round, I think Macron is surging ahead. He's about 63%, and there is no possibility of him doing very badly. It will only happen if supporters of Mélenchon decide to switch over to Marine Le Pen, and that is very unlikely because they are left-wingers, although they do not share the vision of Emmanuel Macron. But in a certain way, they know what lies in store for France if Marine Le Pen wins, because there is a fear in both the so-called rich elite as well as the poor that Marine Le Pen is going to cause the kind of problems that they can't even visualize. And when Macron is saying that there could be a civil war, he's playing in those fears. I'm sure, you know, one thing very interesting about the entire thing is that despite the fact that Marine Le Pen has built her entire movement around the threat of Islamic State, and Islamophobia is at the center of it, the cities, the major cities of France haven't shown any kind of liking for her election campaign. In the last vote that took place, the first round, Marine Le Pen got support of just about 5% in Paris and other major cities. So surely the people of France may be wise on how to deal with this problem. They understand that the security is an issue, but they would not try to compromise the very vision of Europe that Emmanuel Macron stands. And Macron is in a certain way very similar to Obama and Justin Trudeau of Canada, and he's on a roll in a certain way.
That's why it brings me to my next question. Is Macron the only possible sane person or sane candidate left in France at the moment, and of course Europe more broadly?
I think he is the man of the moment, because Europe is in very deep crisis. After Brexit, one feared that Marine Le Pen is going to come, and her vision also meant breaking France away from Europe. And in a certain way, later in the campaign, she started to mellow her stand, and she promised that she'll get a prime minister who believed in Europe. But the truth is that she was seen to be anti-Europe. And France, in many ways, and people of France have benefited from a European Union compact. People's lives have changed, the infrastructure has changed, so they were not willing to depart. And France and Germany are the center of the entire European Union. So in a certain way, it seemed a very daunting proposition to run away from European Union. So Macron's promise that, you know, he's all for trade, whereas Marine Le Pen is very inward-looking. And during the debate, I think at some point, you know, she positioned herself against trade. And Emmanuel Macron said, from how will you fund yourself? How will you fund your campaign? How your economy? So she did not have any answer. So the kind of bounce that Macron has got after the debate is also because I think he had better answers to most of the questions that were posed.
You know, right-wing extremism, right-wing politics has seen an extreme rise in Europe of late. So were you surprised at all that that did not resonate in what's happening in France?
You know, the fact of the matter is that there is a major component in the entire support that Marine Le Pen is getting is from right wing, and that has been true. It wasn't so, you can say, manifest. It wasn't so upfront as it is now. So if it is doing badly, it's also because people of France don't want to change the character of the society. They do not want to wish away the threat that is posed to it. I mean, the threat that comes from Islamic terror, the threat that comes from the trajectory of the economy. They want more jobs to be brought in. There are major misgivings amongst the poor. The many poor actually voted for Mélenchon, the extreme left candidate. They all fear that, but at the same time, they don't want to compromise the basic character of France and the fact that it is the center of European Union. So they would like a continuity, despite the fact that they would like many things to happen to their society, and they still have misgivings about Macron, whom they think is a Goldman Sachs banker, and they always call him a banker. And in especially in 2008 world, post 2008 world, a banker is a four-letter word.
Is there, calling him a banker, and of course we all know that he's been a shrewd economist as well, so is there a lot riding on Macron now? Are the people too optimistic as far as Macron is concerned? Because the economy is not doing too well in France.
You know, I'm not very sure people are extremely excited. I mean, you have competing fears. The fear of France actually going away from Europe. Many people don't want that. They don't want, you know, the stability that France enjoys to go away. At the same time, they have misgivings about the Islamic terror. France has seen attacks for the last 2 years, which has seen more than 250 people dying, and most of them in Paris. So there are fears, but at the same time, there are troubling questions that Uberization of the economy poses. Simple drivers are losing jobs, and Mr. Emmanuel Macron had a role to play in deepening those fears because he allowed ordinary drivers to serve as cabbie drivers, and the cabbie drivers think that that's something that will take away their jobs. So at different levels, I think even Macron's economic policy is hurt, but you have a bigger issue, that whether you can allow France's culture, their larger vision, their humane vision to be compromised during this by voting in for Marine Le Pen.
All right, fair enough. On that note, we'll have to call it a wrap on our chat, but thank you so much for joining us on the program and putting things into perspective for us. Moving on now, of course, with North Korea threatening of a nuclear war, US President Donald Trump has expressed desire to meet the Korean leader Kim Jong-un under the right circumstances. White House was quick to clarify, though, that major changes were required in North Korea's behavior before a potential sit-down between both leaders. Meanwhile, tensions continue to simmer in the Korean peninsula as US bombers conducted flying drills with South Korea and Japan.
In the backdrop of rising tensions in the Korean peninsula, US President Donald Trump has said that he was willing to meet the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, but under the right circumstances. The statement assumes significance as North Korea warns of a looming nuclear war. The White House said the US would first need to see changes in North Korean behavior before a potential sit-down.
That the State Department determines in consultation with the President that have to be met. As I mentioned, we are so early into this process that I don't see this happening anytime soon. But I think that, as the President said, under the right circumstances, those circumstances aren't present today, and there would have to be significant change for that to even be a possibility.
China has welcomed Trump's desire for a meeting with the North Korean leader, saying that restoring interaction and dialogue was an effective way of cooling down the situation.
We believe that as the two direct participants in the peninsula's nuclear issue, China and the United States should take active steps as soon as possible to indicate their sincerity towards restoring dialogue.
North Korea, however, remained reluctant and accused the US of pushing the Korean peninsula to the brink of nuclear war. Tensions further rose on Monday after US bombers flew training drills with the South Korean and Japanese air forces in another apparent show of strength.
Due to the US military provocations that is becoming more explicit day by day, situation in the Korean peninsula that is already sensitive is being driven to a point close to nuclear war.
The US has been carrying out military exercises in the region along with South Korea in response to the North's repeated missile tests. The commercial anti-missile system THAAD deployed in South Korea has also become operational. The system's deployment is to defend against North Korean missile threat. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but still to come, Donald Trump secures his biggest legislative victory. The US House of Representatives approves a bill to repeal major parts of Obamacare and replace it with a Republican healthcare plan. That and much more still to come. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. Tradition and cultural fervor dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, President Donald Trump declared Obamacare dead after the Republican healthcare bill was narrowly passed by the lower chamber of Congress. The vote marked his first legislative victory and goes some way to keeping a key campaign promise to roll back his predecessor's law. The bill now heads to the Senate, where Republicans have indicated they will cast it aside and write a new law. The U.S. House of Representatives approved a bill on Thursday to repeal major parts of Obamacare and replace it with a Republican healthcare plan, handing President Donald Trump his biggest legislative victory, but setting up a tough fight in the Senate.
And this is a great plan. I actually think it will get even better. And this is, make no mistake, this is a repeal and a replace of Obamacare. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake.
With a 217 to 213 vote, Republicans obtained just enough support to push the legislation through the House, sending it to the Senate for consideration. No Democrats voted for the bill.
I went through 2 years of campaigning, and I'm telling you, no matter where I went, people were suffering so badly with the ravages of Obamacare. And I will say this, that as far as I'm concerned, your premiums, they're going to start to come down. We're going to get this passed through the Senate. I feel so confident.
Trump took a victory lap at the White House Rose Garden after the House of Representatives approved a bill to repeal Obamacare. The bill's passage represented a step toward fulfilling a top Trump campaign pledge and a 7-year Republican quest to dismantle Democratic former President Barack Obama's signature healthcare law.
I think this is an opportunity for Speaker Ryan and President Trump, obviously, to take their curtain call bows and really take credit for the process that got them here after their earlier missteps a few months ago. So this is really the Republican caucus showing that they can hold together under very difficult circumstances.
Meanwhile, demonstrators chanted slogans in the nation's capital after the vote. They said that they would fight till the end and intensify their protests.
Thank you for being out here. We are not giving up. Only by 3 votes, they can go to the White House all day. The real vote is in November, when you take them out of office for voting against our health in Army. Thank you.
So I just think everyone should have a say over their body, and they need health care to get that done. They need to not be penalized for needing health and trying to improve their lives. They just need to help make a difference, and that starts with good health, and we all need good health care to make that happen.
Trump's effort now faces new hurdles in the Senate, where the Republicans have only a 52-seat majority in the 100-seat chamber and where just a few Republican defections could sink the bill. Democrats are hoping that the Republicans' vote to repeal Obamacare will spark a voter backlash in next year's midterm congressional elections. Some 20 million Americans gained healthcare coverage under Obama's 2010 Affordable Care Act, which has recently gathered support in public opinion polls. But Republicans have long attacked it, seeing the program as government overreach and complaining that it drives up healthcare costs. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, India and Turkey strongly condemned the use of double standards in combating terrorism. The two countries agreed to strengthen cooperation in effectively dealing with the menace both bilaterally and at multilateral fora. This was conveyed after extensive talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and visiting Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
India and Turkey signed 3 agreements in the field of foreign affairs, cultural exchange and telecom after visiting Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan held bilateral talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday. During the meeting, the two premiers took the stock of political, economic and cultural engagements.
President and I are clear that the strength of our economies presents an enormous opportunity to expand and deepen commercial linkages between our countries. We need to approach the entire landscape of businesses, opportunities in a strategic and long-term manner.
Investments of $6.5 billion is not enough. We have to increase it to $10 billion as soon as possible. Both leaders also urged nations across the world to work together to disrupt terrorist networks and their financing.
No intent or goal, no reason or rationale can validate terrorism. The nations of the world, therefore, need to work as one to disrupt the terrorist networks and their financing and put
Turkey will always be by India's side with full solidarity in battling terrorism. Earlier in the day, Prime Minister Modi and President Erdogan attended the India-Turkey Business Summit in the capital, where Prime Minister Modi stressed the need for an increase in economic engagement between the two countries. Promising a business-friendly environment, Modi invited Turkish companies to invest in India's infrastructure sector, especially in ports, rail, housing, energy, hydrocarbon, tourism, textiles and auto.
Economic cooperation is becoming an important pillar of every bilateral relation. India and Turkey enjoy good economic ties. The growth in our bilateral trade over the years.
President Tayyip Erdogan was accorded ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan. He also visited Rajghat to pay tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. Erdogan arrived in India on Sunday for a 2-day visit, his first foreign visit after winning a controversial referendum on April 16 that further consolidated his power as president. Bureau reports for Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now shift focus and bring you up to speed with all the sports news you might have missed this week in Sports Action.
Cristiano Ronaldo scored another Champions League hat-trick as Real Madrid thrashed Atletico Madrid in the semi-final first leg to close in on the third final in 4 years. Real were utterly dominant throughout against their city rivals at the Bernabeu and led after 10 minutes when Ronaldo headed home. The 4-time Ballon d'Or winner rifled an unstoppable shot in the top corner in the 73rd minute and then on a close-range shot in the 86th minute to give Real Madrid a commanding 3-0 win. The second leg will be played next week. Juventus closed in on a second Champions League final in 3 seasons as Gonzalo Higuain struck twice to beat Monaco in the semi-final first leg. The French host started brightly with Kylian Mbappe heading at Gigi Buffon before forcing another low save. But Higuain ruthlessly finished 2 fine Dani Alves assists, sweeping the Brazilians back heel in on 29 minutes. Radamel Falcao went close for Monaco after the break before Alves' measured cross saw Higuain put Juve in control. Roma legend Francesco Totti to hang up his boots at the end of the season, the club's new sporting director Monchi has revealed. The 40-year-old forward and club captain has scored 307 goals and 783 appearances since making his Roma debut 24 years ago. He will become a director at the club he has served all his career. Roma's final game of the season at home to Genoa on 28th May will be his last. Totti, a World Cup winner with Italy in 2006, has won 1 Serie A title and 2 Coppa Italias at Roma. He has made 25 appearances this season, mostly as a substitute. 2-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova returned to the practice court as she continues her comeback from a career-threatening hand injury. The 27-year-old Czech suffered damage to tendons and nerves in her left hand when she was stabbed by an intruder at her home in Prostijo in December. She posted a photo of her playing in Monaco on social media. Kvitova was initially expected to be out for at least 6 months, but last month said she has a chance of making the French Open starting on 28th May. She announced she has submitted her entry for Roland Garros, but may not be ready to play. After the French Open announced an increase in its prize money for its champions, the oldest Grand Slam tournament, Wimbledon, has also declared a hike by 10% from this year. The men's and women's singles winners in the third major of the season will now receive £2.2 million in prize money, a hike of £200,000. In addition, Wimbledon has also made notable increments of about 12.5% to its total prize money for the tournament. As a result, the players making the first round exit are expected to earn £35,000 in prize money.
Well, finally, Jedis and stormtroopers brought some intergalactic fun to central Taipei on Thursday as dozens of fans in costume celebrated Star Wars Day at the 40th anniversary of the sci-fi film franchise. In Taiwan's capital, fans of the movie series took the day off from work to pose for photos at city landmarks. This year is the 40th anniversary of the original 1977 film starring Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. I'm going to leave you with these visuals from Taipei. Until next time, this is Frank Pereira signing off.